everybody, welcome back. Emily here, your Harvest Market dietitian. I am in my kitchen again this week with yet another delicious recipe. So the temps are dropping. To me, that means soup. So we have soup this week, one of my absolute favorites. It is a super simple Mexican chicken soup with lots of delicious flavors. It couldn't be easier to put together, really. And if you want to remake this, if you're not getting the kit, you can really toss in whatever vegetables you want. If you want zucchini or mushrooms, feel free to do that. So let's go over what we are going to be doing, what you're going to be needing. So pretty much everything is provided for you in the kit. So you're going to get your veggie bag with all the delicious vegetables. You're going to get an onion, a lime. You're going to get these little cups here, which we'll go through as we add them. You're going to get some corn and diced tomatoes. And then your protein, you can get chicken, beans, or a little bit of both. I'm going to be using a little bit of both today because I enjoy both of them. So what do you need? You're going to need a cutting board, some type of knife, some type of cooking utensil. I like my wooden spatula here. A soup pot to cook the soup in. You're also going to need 2 cups of warm water. So this is just out of the tap. It doesn't need to be super hot. And that's pretty much it. You also, this is optional. This is a zester, microplane, grater, whatever. And this is just for the lime zest, which I think is really crucial in the end, but you can skip that part if you want to. So let's get started. My pot is already preheating. And so we want to get this over medium high. We really want a nice sizzle when we add our onion to the pan. So first things first, let's go ahead and open up our veggie bag. In here we have some cilantro right on the top and probably some garlic. So let's just set that cilantro off to the side. That's just going to be our garnish. Then we're going to have some celery in here, which I think is just so important to a soup. I love celery in a soup. Then we're going to have half of a red bell pepper. Just gonna pull everything out here, and then you're gonna have shredded carrot in the bottom that we'll just leave in the bag because we're just gonna toss this right into the pan when we're ready. So again, everything is pretty much ready to go. I have all my stuff. This goes pretty quick, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start dicing up my onion here because we want to get this sauteing. This is kind of a big one. So for a dice, what I do is I cut off the top. I leave the root end intact. I slice halfway through that root end so that I come out with 2 pieces, still again intact, because the root really holds everything together. And then I'm gonna peel this guy. Now this feels like a lot of onion to you. This is a larger onion, but if you're looking at this and you're like, holy moly, that's a lot of onion, I don't know, save the rest for later. I really like a lot of onion in my soup. I think it lends to a really great base flavor. The aromatic of onions is just outstanding, and so I like a lot of it. Plus it cooks down, right? So all right, so we're gonna go ahead and give this a dice. Do some slices parallel to the cutting board. Do some slices this way. I'm not slicing all the way through so that this is still intact, and then we're gonna go this way, and this is gonna give us our dice. Beautiful. I like a nice small dice on the onion just so that it really kind of melts into the soup when it's all said and done. Almost there with our dice, and this is really great. This is a one pot dish, truly is. Everything just gets chopped up and right in the pot. I'm just gonna run my knife through for any big pieces. Oh yeah. Okay, then we're gonna add all of the olive oil. This is olive oil. We're gonna add this to our preheated pan. Everything right in. Make sure you really shake that. Okay, all of this goes in. Oh yeah, you hear that sizzle? That's what we want. Gorgeous, gorgeous. If you're not sure if your pan is hot enough, you can't tell, you can always drop just a couple of these pieces of onion in and listen for that sizzle. If it doesn't give you that beautiful sizzle right away, maybe wait a couple more minutes, turn up the heat a little bit if you need to. Okay, we're gonna give that a toss so that everything is coated in the olive oil. Now I'm gonna dice up the rest of my veggies. All right, Let's go ahead and give this, oop, got a little bad piece, that's all right. Just toss it to the side. So I like to slice my red bell pepper into really long, thin slices and then kind of gather it all up and then cut it up the other way, and that gives me a really beautiful small dice. So really the point of, you know, when we're doing this, we want to make sure that we have small pieces here. Not only are they going to cook more evenly, but it's going to be easier to eat. Remember, this is a soup, so we don't want ginormous chunks that we can't even get on our spoon. So as you dice up your veggies, add them to the pot. Remember to adjust the heat as necessary. Once we add things to our pan or our pot, typically that heat will go down because there's water being released from the vegetables, and that water gets in the pan and it kind of lowers the heat a little bit. So always listen and look and adjust as necessary. Cooking is definitely not stagnant. It's a very dynamic, active thing where we need to kind of keep in touch. That's why it's so mindful, because we really have to be just in the moment, right? I love it. Okay, now for the celery. I love, love, love when the celery hits the pan. So fragrant, so delicious. All right, now we're just gonna add in that right there, the shredded carrot. You can use regular carrot too. The shredded is nice because it's cut up really nice. Carrot is a bit more dense than the other vegetables that we're using, and so sometimes it takes a little bit longer to cook. When we're using a shredded, it really cooks down nicely and becomes nice and soft with the rest of the vegetables. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this cook down for a few minutes and meet you right back here. So veggies are sauteing beautifully. In the last couple minutes or so, I'm gonna go ahead and get my garlic ready. Now you can add this earlier if you want to. If you're afraid of your garlic burning, then you can always add it a little bit later. It's really gonna cook down beautifully in this soup, so it doesn't really matter if you add it a little bit later, a little bit sooner. Again, just as long as you don't burn it. But when we add garlic to a pan that has a lot of other vegetables in it, again, the moisture, the water, typically it gets kind of caught up in all of the other vegetables that it doesn't have that much kind of contact time with the bottom of the pan. It has little chance of burning. Because I know some folks, you know, don't ever add garlic to a pan early because it burns. Well, our pan isn't that hot, and there's lots of other stuff in it too, so it should be absolutely fine. We're just gonna give it a good mince. Feel free to use like a garlic press or something like that if you have one. I just like to chop it up with my knife. All right, I'm gonna add this right in. And we're gonna let this cook, allow this to cook down a little bit because we do want our garlic to become really nice and fragrant. Kind of stir it in there a little bit, make sure that it gets cooked up with everything else. You're gonna start to smell it right away, hit the pan. Okay, so while that is going, we're going to open up our chicken. So this chicken is already cooked for you, so all you have to do is add it right into the pan, which is nice. So I'm gonna be using, again, half chicken and half bean. So my beans are right here. I love to use pinto beans because to me they're super duper flavorful. Pinto beans are typically what refried beans are made from. I love, love, love the flavor. So if you're not a fan of pintos, you can always use like a black bean or something like that. Okay, next up, so my veggies are looking really soft. What you wanna look for is onions to be translucent and everything to be just a little bit softer. Your carrots are gonna be a little soft. So then we're gonna add in our seasoning cup. So this has all of our beautiful seasonings in here, super duper simple. We have, whoops, some on the counter. We have some salt and pepper, cumin, and coriander. And as soon as you add that, it's gonna be extremely aromatic and it's gonna smell like a taco. So we're gonna toss that. And this is letting whenever we add dry spices to a hot pan, This is blooming the spices. So this is really kind of reactivating the spices. So think of dried spices as like kind of sleeping, being dormant. The heat is, and a little bit of fat is going to activate that flavor and the aromatics. So beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna let that cook for just a second. So the other thing that you can be doing in advance is mixing up your broth. So this is one of my absolute favorite things. I love soup. I really, really do, and I love making it. And so I've always been on the lookout for the best broths, what tastes the best, because some broths just taste horrible. You might as well be using water. So I have come to discover this Better Than Bouillon paste, which is fantastic. It's basically really, really cooked down vegetables and whatever. So my favorite is the vegetable, whether I'm using chicken or anything. I love, love, love using the vegetables. So this is what it looks like. Again, it's a paste, and you add 1 teaspoon to 8 ounces of water. So we're doing 2 teaspoons, so we're gonna be adding this to 2 cups of water. And the water doesn't have to be super warm. It just kind of helps it to dissolve a little bit. All right, so make sure you scrape every last little bit out of here, because that's all delicious goodness. I like to use a butter knife because I feel like I can get in all of those nooks and crannies, and then you can just kind of stir it up a little bit like that. You'll see it starting to dissolve a little bit. Okay, we're gonna set that aside, and then the next thing we're gonna add is our red wine vinegar and diced green chilies. So that goes right in. It should sizzle a little bit when it hits the pan. You hear that? So red wine vinegar is my secret ingredient. It's not really secret. To every single soup that I make, no matter what I'm making, I always add a vinegar. That is the missing ingredient. It is just as important as everything else, that acid. We're also going to be adding an acid in the form of lime juice later on in the cooking process, like right before we're serving. But this really, really, really brightens everything up, kind of brings all of the flavors together. So that's one of my secret ingredients. Don't ever, ever, ever forget the vinegar or the acid. You can use, and red wine vinegar to me is so all-purpose, so you can use any other type of vinegar that you want. You can use like a white wine vinegar or something like that, but red wine vinegar to me just goes pretty much with everything, no matter what you're cooking, so I like to keep it in my pantry. All right, that's cooking down. We're gonna add the cup of corn and tomatoes. Lovely. We're gonna add the beans if you're using them. And we're gonna add in the shredded chicken. If you don't wanna shred your chicken, you can always dice it up. And I just roasted off my chickens, just chicken breast with a little bit of cumin and salt and pepper. That's it. So we're gonna mix this up. Look at that. Beautiful. Already smells so good. I'm gonna go ahead and crank up the heat now. We're gonna add the broth that we made to this. Whoops, some for the counter as always. And then we're gonna give this a stir. You guys, that's it. That is it. It is so simple, it is so delicious. You're gonna bring this up to kind of a rolling boil and then reduce it down to a simmer. And you're gonna simmer this for at least 12 to 15 minutes. That just allows the flavors to really come together beautifully. And then you can eat it right away, or you can save it for later. So one of the things that I do highly recommend doing is zesting your lime right before you eat it, you serve it. So after it's simmered for a good 15 minutes, zest your lime right into the pot. Remember, zest is where all of the flavor is. So yes, lime juice is super important. I squeeze lime juice into the whole pot as well as the individual bowls, but use your zest too. Dice up your cilantro, any toppings that you have, cheese, whatever, and you're good to go. And this will keep in the fridge, and it freezes beautifully, so it'll keep for a good 3 to 4 days in the fridge. It makes quite a bit for a 2-person, I feel like, and a 4-person too, so it's generous servings. And it's so yummy. I really hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining me for this cooking instructional video. I will see you guys all next time. Take care. Bye.